I died choking on my own screams, the kind that echo in your skull long after the world goes black. The last thing I saw was his face, my husband, Jake, twisted in that fake-ass sympathy as the pills I'd swallowed in a haze of heartbreak dissolved on my tongue. Mother's Day brunch with the kids. And he'd already replaced me with her. That perky little intern from his firm. Right there in our bed while I was downstairs forcing smiles over rubbery eggs. But death? It wasn't the end. It was a goddamn reset button, slamming me back into my body 3 months before that brunch. Heart pounding like I'd just run a marathon from hell. I gasped awake in the passenger seat of our old Subaru, the kind with the cracked leather seats that smelled like fast food and regret. Jake's hand was on my thigh, casual as ever, humming along to some Springsteen on the radio as we cruised down I-95 toward our weekend getaway in the Hamptons. It was February, crisp and gray, the kind of East Coast winter that bites your bones. My reflection in the side mirror showed me at 34. Lines around my eyes from too many late nights chasing partnerships at the law firm. But alive. Whole. Not the bloated, broken shell I'd become by May. What the hell? I muttered, my voice hoarse. Jake glanced over, smirking that boyish grin that used to melt me. You okay, babe? Bad dream? You have no idea. I thought. In my first life, or whatever you call the one that got snuffed out, I'd been Iris Hale, top litigator at Donovan and Pierce, the mom who baked lopsided cupcakes for school fairs and pretended her marriage wasn't cracking like cheap drywall. Jake was the golden boy accountant, all charm and cufflinks, climbing the ladder at his boutique firm in Manhattan. We had the American dream. Brownstone in Brooklyn. 2 kids, Ellie, 7, with my freckles, and Max, 5. All Jake's dimples, and a golden retriever named Buddy who shed everywhere. But dreams curdle. It started with the late nights, Jake's client dinners that stretched till dawn. Then the texts I wasn't supposed to see, the perfume that wasn't mine clinging to his collars. By Mother's Day, he'd moved her in. Not literally, but close enough. Sarah Klein, 28, fresh out of Columbia Law, with legs for days and a laugh like wind chimes. She'd been his mentee for months, but I knew better. I'd walked in on them that morning, roses from the kids wilting in my fist, and something in me snapped. Not the dramatic snap, no knife. No screams, just a quiet unraveling. I popped those sleep aids like candy, washed them down with the mimosa I'd poured for myself, and let the darkness take me. Jake found me too late, called it an accident to the cops, played the grieving widower at the funeral. By summer, he was engaged to Sarah, the kids calling her bonus mom like it was a video game upgrade. Now, I was back. And I wasn't the same Iris. Death strips you bare, leaves you with nothing but the ugly truths you ignored. Like how Jake had been siphoning money from our joint account for her apartment in Soho. Or the secret he'd buried deeper. The affair wasn't just sex. Sarah knew things, client files I'd slaved over, strategies I'd whispered in bed. She'd used them to poach my biggest case, the one that would have made me partner. Jake, he'd greenlit it all, whispering sweet nothings while twisting the knife. I shifted in the seat, forcing a smile. Yeah, just a nightmare. Tell me about the merger again. He launched into it, oblivious, his hand squeezing my thigh like he owned it. Fine. Let him talk. I'd listen, learn, and this time, I'd play dirtier than he ever dreamed. The Hamptons house was our escape. A rented A-frame on the dunes with ocean views that screamed old money. We arrived as snow flurried, the kids piling out with whoops, Ellie dragging her sketchpad to capture the icy waves. Max chased Buddy into the salt marsh, his laughter cutting through the wind. I unpacked, mechanical, my mind racing. Revenge wasn't a checklist, it was a chess game, and I was 3 moves ahead already. That night, after the kids crashed, Jake poured wine by the fireplace, Cabernet, my favorite, or so he thought. To us, he toasted, clinking glasses. I sipped, eyes locked on his. In the firelight, he looked almost innocent, that jawline sharp as a blade. But I remembered the eulogy he'd given, tears glistening as he clutched Sarah's hand in the back pew. To new beginnings, I replied, the words laced with venom he couldn't taste. We made love on the rug, his hands familiar.
Urgent.
But it was different now. I watched him, catalogued every gasp, every lie etched in his touch. When he rolled off, spent and snoring, I slipped out of bed. The laptop was in his briefcase, password protected with our anniversary, pathetic. I cracked it in under a minute, fingers flying from muscle memory and a fresh surge of spite. Emails. Dozens. Jake to Sarah. Miss you already. Iris is clueless. Attachments. My case notes. Redacted just enough to cover his ass. My stomach twisted, but not with hurt. With fire. This was the secret, the intellectual theft that had tanked my career before the pills did. Sarah hadn't just slept her way up, she'd stolen her way there. With Jake as the willing accomplice. I deleted nothing. Not yet. Evidence was my new lover. Instead, I forwarded copies to my work email, buried in a folder labeled recipes. Then I closed the laptop, crawled back into bed, and let his arm drape over me like a noose. Morning brought blueberry pancakes and forced family photos. Ellie chattered about her drawing. Max smeared syrup on Buddy. Jake scrolled his phone, thumb pausing on a text notification. I caught the name, SK. My blood hummed. Work stuff, he said, catching my glance. Nothing big. I nodded, buttering toast. Hey, speaking of, I was thinking about that pro bono case. The one with the whistleblower? His fork froze midair. The whistleblower, Elena Vargas. A junior associate who'd tipped me off about embezzlement at a pharma giant. I'd buried it to protect the firm, but Elena hadn't forgotten. She'd quit, threatening to go public. In my old life, Jake had convinced me to squash it harder, citing family stability. Now I wondered why he'd cared so much. Ancient history. Iris. Let's not dredge it up on Valkyrie, but I was dredging. Everything. Back in Brooklyn by Sunday, the city throbbed with its usual chaos, horns blaring on Flatbush, the F train rattling like bones. I dove into work Monday, heels clicking on marble floors at Donovan and Pierce. My office overlooked the East River, a perk of being the firm's rainmaker. Colleagues nodded hellos. I smiled back, sharper than before. First up, HR. Casual chat with Linda, the director, over coffee. You know, I've been reflecting. That whistleblower thing with Elena feels off. Maybe we should revisit. Linda's brows furrowed. Iris. That's closed. Jake mentioned. Jake. I leaned in, voice honeyed. Since when does my husband consult on firm matters? She flushed. Just informally. He knows people. Of course he did. The web was wider than I'd thought. By lunch, I had Elena's contact, exiled to a dingy nonprofit in Queens. We met at a Greek spot off Steinway, gyros steaming between us. She was gaunt, eyes haunted, but fire still flickered there. You look different, she said, after I apologized for the stonewalling. Death'll do that to a girl. I laughed it off, but her stare lingered. I slid a napkin across, my number. Tell me everything. No filters. She did. The pharma embezzlement? Tied to Jake's firm. They handled the audits, signed off on falsified books. Sarah had been the mole, feeding Jake inside info from our side. The betrayal wasn't just personal, it was criminal. Wire fraud. Securities violations, the kind that buried people for decades. I left with a USB drive of docs, my pulse sinking to the subway's rumble. Home that night. Jake was late again. Client dinner, he texted. I pictured Sarah's laugh, her hand on his knee under the table. The kids were bathed. Stories read. Ellie hugged me tight. Mommy, are you sad? I kissed her forehead. Not anymore. Bug. Tuesday. I lawyered up. Not at my firm, too risky. A shark from across the river. Marty Klein. Ex-Fed with a grudge against white-collar crooks. We met in his Tribeca loft. Walls lined with case clippings like war trophies. This is dynamite, he said, scanning the USB. But you'll torch your marriage. Your career. Good, I replied. Both needed burning. He chuckled. Dry. What's the play? Sue? Go public. Neither. I want them to unravel from the inside. Controversial? Hell yes. Marty raised brows when I outlined it. Plant the seeds of doubt. Let paranoia do the rest. Leak just enough to Elena's contacts. Anonymous tips to the SEC. Whispers in the right ears at Jake's firm. No direct hits yet. Make them chase ghosts. By week's end, Jake was twitchy. Snapping at Max over spilled Cheerios. Checking his phone every 5 minutes. Everything okay? I asked, pouring his scotch double. Neat. Fine. Just pressure at work. He downed it, eyes darting. I smiled. You know you can tell me anything, right? He kissed my cheek. Hollow. Coarse. Babe. Lies taste like ash. I savored it. March crept in, daffodils pushing through brownstone planters. I upped the ante. A burner phone for Elena, funneling her docs to a journalist at the Post, off record. For now. Sarah started showing cracks, missed meetings, dark circles under those doe eyes. Jake confided in me over takeout. Ironic. That about trouble with the new girl. She's spiraling, he said. Chopsticks hovering. Keeps accusing me of leaks. I feigned concern. Maybe she's cracking under pressure. You two are close. Huh. He stiffened. What? Word gets around. I shrugged. Casual. Office gossip. His face paled. The hook was set. But revenge is a slow burn. And it chars you too. Nights. I'd lie awake. Ellie's soft breaths from the next room a tether. Was I saving them? Or damning? The kids adored Jake, soccer games. Bedtime forts. Tearing him down meant tearing our world apart. Controversial decisions. Do I shield them from the fallout? Or let truth be the teacher? One rainy afternoon, I tailed him. Parked in a coffee shop lot near his office, collar up against the drizzle. He emerged, umbrella blooming, and slid into a cab, not toward home, but midtown. Sarah's building. I followed on foot after ditching the car, heart hammering as thunder grumbled overhead. They met in the lobby, her arms around his neck. Urgent whispers. Then up to her floor. I didn't knock. Why spoil the show? Instead, I snapped photos through the fire escape window, discreet, damning. Jake's hand up her skirt, her nails raking his back. Click. Click. Enough for divorce. Custody. But I wanted more. The twist of the knife. Turn slow. Back home. I uploaded to a secure drive. Marty called that night. SEC sniffing. Your husband's firm is sweating. Good, I whispered, watching Jake pull in. Headlights slicing rain. But as he walked in, shaking off wet, something shifted. He looked tired. Human. Rough day, he muttered, dropping his keys. I poured wine. Tell me. He did. Half-truths spilling. Audits gone wrong. Higher-ups panicking. No mention of Sarah, but guilt laced every word. For a beat, I saw the man I'd married, the one who danced with me at our wedding under string lights in Central Park. Promised forever. Pity flickered. Then rage snuffed it. Forever? He'd sold it for thigh-highs and stolen secrets. April bloomed bloody. Mother's Day loomed like a guillotine. In my old life, it had been the end. This time, the beginning of theirs. I planned the brunch meticulously. Our brownstones garden level. Mimosas and quiches. The kids in Easter pastels. Invites went out, not just family, but key players. Elena, as a surprise guest. Marty, posing as a colleague. Even a Post reporter. Undercover as the caterer. Jake bought the roses. Oblivious. For you, Iris. You're the best mom. I smiled, thorns pricking my palm as I arranged them. Can't wait. The day dawned sunny, cruel in its perfection. Guests arrived. Laughter. Clinking glasses. Ellie gifted me a macaroni necklace, Max a finger-painted card. Jake hovered. Proud papa. Arm around my waist. Then Sarah showed. Bold as brass. In a sundress that hugged her like a second skin. Thought I'd swing by, she cooed, air-kissing my cheek. Support the family. Jake's face drained. What the? But I cut in. Gracious host. Of course. Mimosas? The table tensed as Elena arrived, eyes locking on Sarah like lasers. Whispers rippled. The reporter, call him Tom, snapped candids, Mike hidden in his apron. Brunch unfolded in slow motion. Toasts to motherhood. Jake's hand trembling on his fork. Sarah fidgeted, glancing at exits. Then Elena leaned in, voice low but caring. Funny running into you here. Sarah. After all those tips you fed across the river. Gasps. Jake choked on his eggs. What the hell is this? I stood, glass raised. This? Clarity. The dam broke. Accusations flew, embezzlement, theft. The affair laid bare like a gutted fish. Sarah bolted for the door. Jake after her, bellowing denials. But Tom was live tweeting. Marty dialing feds from the powder room. Cops arrived by noon, cuffs glinting in the sun.
Jake.
Wild-eyed. Yanked from Sarah's grip. Iris. Please, it's not what it is, I said. Voice steel. Every bit. The kids, shielded in the kitchen with Grandma, cried soft. My heart cracked, but I held. Controversial? Exposing them to this circus?
Yeah.
But lies poison slower than truth. As they hauled him away, Sarah spitting venom. You bitch. You'll pay. I felt the weight lift. Not joy. Vindication. But twists? They come when you least expect. The fallout hit like a nor'easter. Winds howling through our brownstone as headlines screamed from every screen. Wall Street scandal, affair. Embezzlement rock elite firms. Jake's mugshot, disheveled. Cuffs biting wrists, plastered on the Post's front page. Sarah's glossy headshot smirking beside it like a bad punchline. Our neighborhood, that tight-knit Brooklyn bubble of yoga moms and tech bros, turned into a circus. Reporters camped on the stoop, flashing bulbs at Ellie and Max as they clutched my legs on the way to school. I shielded them best I could, private tutor for a week. Playdates rerouted to Jersey. But kids sensed the storm. Ellie's drawings turned stormy seas and sinking ships, Max wet the bed twice, whispering nightmares about Daddy in jail.
Guilt gnawed at me.
Sharp as glass. Was this revenge or wreckage? I'd saved my life. But at what cost to theirs? Donovan and Pierce suspended me pending investigation. Ironic. Since I'd been the victim. Partners called emergency meetings. Suits starched stiff as their excuses. Iris. This taints us all. I sat in the conference room, coffee going cold, and laid it out. The thefts. The collusion. Fire me if you want. But the SEC's got your number too. They didn't. I walked out partner-elect. Back pay and a corner office waiting. Power's a hell of a drug. Bitter on the tongue. Jake's arraignment was a media frenzy. Federal courthouse in Foley Square swarming like ants on sugar. I didn't attend, too raw, but Marty fed me play-by-play. He's crumbling. Iris. Blaming Sarah. The firm. Even you. Bond denied. Flight risk.
They said.
Sarah flipped first. Plea deal inked by dusk. Testify against Jake for reduced time. 20 years to 7. Chump change for treason. Nights blurred into bourbon and bad TV. The kids' laughter a fragile thread. Grandma moved in. Her meatloaf and mothballs sent a comfort. You did right. Honey, she'd say. But them my hunt. Men like that, they reap what they sow. But sleep evaded. Death's gift, visions. Not ghosts, but echoes, the pills dissolving. Jake's voice on the 911 call. My wife.
She. God.
Hurry. Grief or performance. I'd never know. Instead, I dreamed of what-ifs. What if I'd confronted him sooner? What if the affair was symptom, not cause? Our marriage had frayed years back, his resentment at my billable hours. My blind eye to his wandering. Rebirth didn't erase flaws, it amplified them. A week post-brunch, the letter arrived. Prison stationery. Jake's scrawl shaky. Iris, I never meant. It spiraled. Sarah pushed, but I let it. Forgive me? For the kids. Bullshit. I burned it in the sink. Flame licking blue. Smoke curling like accusations. Then the twist nobody saw. Elena. My whistleblower ally. The one I'd avenged. She called late. Voice edged with panic. Iris, you gotta hear this. We met at that same Greek joint. falafel cold between us. Her hands trembled as she slid a flash drive across. After the bust, I dug deeper. Pharma wasn't the end.
Jake.
He was running interference for bigger fish. Files unspooled. Wire transfers to offshore shells. Names I'd litigated against. Senators. CEOs. A ghost network of corruption. Jake hadn't just skimmed. He'd orchestrated. And Sarah? She'd been the bait. But Elena revealed the hook. Me. You were the mark, Elena said. Eyes hollow. He married you for access. Donovan and Pierce, your cases fed his schemes. The whistleblower tip? He planted it to test you. See if you'd fold. My world tilted. Betrayal's layers peeled back. Onion-sharp tears stinging. Not just an affair. A con. From vows to veil. He'd played me. The kids, collateral, dimpled props in his Ponzi paradise. Why tell me now? I rasped. She shrugged, weary. Karma's a circle. You gave me mine, now yours. I left with the drive. Rain slicking streets. Home. I plugged it in. Screens glowing accusations. Evidence enough for RICO charges. The kind that topple empires. But controversy brewed. Go nuclear. And the firm's collapse. Jobs lost. Pensions vaporized. Innocence caught in crossfire. Or bury it. Let Jake rot on the lesser counts. Preserve the facade? Decision clawed deep. I called Marty at 3 a.m. Voice whiskey rough. We go all in. You sure? This ain't just revenge. It's scorched earth. Earth's already ash. The leak hit Friday. Anonymous dropped to the Times. Wall Street Journal. Every watchdog from here to D.C. By Monday, Jake's client dinners were front-page felonies, bribery, money laundering, ties to a cartel-lite syndicate peddling opioids through legit pharmacies. Sarah's plea? Shredded. She faced conspiracy now. Her tearful interviews, I was manipulated, ringing hollow. Jake's firm imploded, partners scattering like roaches. Audits revealing billions in funny money. Donovan and Pierce? I testified. Clean as a whistle. Emerging the hero. The wife who wouldn't stay silent. They called me on CNN. Book deals pinged my agent. TED Talks loomed. But glory's hollow. The kids asked questions. Why's Daddy gone forever? And I spun soft lies. Therapy bills stacking like cordwood. Ellie withdrew. Sketching solitary figures. Max clung. Thumb in mouth at 8. Grandma's meatloaf couldn't fill the void. Summer sweltered. Humidity thick as regret. I took them to the Cape. Rented a cottage on the bay. Waves lapping like confessions. We built sandcastles. Buried secrets in the tide. One night, bonfire crackling, Ellie asked, Mom, was Dad bad? I stared into flames. Embers dancing. He was human. Messy. But he loved you fierce. She nodded.
Grave.
Will we be okay? My throat tightened. Better than okay. Back in Brooklyn. Life stitched itself. New routines, school drop-offs. PDA wars over gluten-free bake sales. I dated a barista with tattoos and easy laughs, but it fizzled. No one fit the hollows. Then, the unexpected replacement. Not a man. Not a lover. Me for them. It started small. Ellie's art class, where her teacher gushed over prodigy potential. I enrolled her in after school. Watched her bloom under praise. Max, soccer camp, his dimples flashing in goals scored. They needed anchors, not ghosts. But the real shift, I quit the firm. Not for drama for them. Traded billables for a boutique practice, pro bono heavy, fighting the very corruption Jake embodied. Elena joined as partner. We called it Hale and Vargas. A middle finger to the old guard. Jake wrote again. From Supermax in Otisville. Saw your interview.
Proud.
Despite everything. Tell the kids I love them. I didn't burn it. Filed it away. A scar, not a wound. Sarah? She lawyered up fierce. Trial dragging into fall. I watched snippets, her in orange, hair limp, testifying against ghosts. Jake recruited me, she sobbed. I was young, ambitious. Jury didn't buy. 25 years. No parole. Climax came unbidden. Jake's allocution. Piped in via Marty. Voice crackling over speaker. Him pleading guilty to it all. I betrayed my wife, my family, my country. No excuses.
Then.
Soft. Iris, if you're listening.
I'm sorry.
Truly, I was. In chambers, door locked, tears hot. Not forgiveness, closure. The man I'd loved died that day, replaced by this shell. And I'd replaced him, not with hate, but with steel. Fall leaves turned, crunching underfoot as we trick-or-treated. Ellie as a pirate queen, Max a mini-mech warrior. Candy wrappers rustled, laughter free. For the first time since rebirth, I breathed easy. But twists linger. December brought a package, no sender. Brown paper crinkled. Inside, a locket, the one from our wedding. Engraved, Forever yours, Jay. Note tucked in. Sold it for her ring. Bought it back. For you. Heart stuttered. Sentimental ploy, or genuine rot. I clasped it on.
Cold against skin.
Let it be a reminder. Betrayal's chain. Broken but not forgotten. Winter clamped down. Brooklyn's brownstones frosted like gingerbread regrets. Hale and Vargas thrived, cases stacking, headlines fading to footnotes. Elena and I made a team. Her fire, my ice. Carving justice from the rubble. Clients poured in whistleblowers. Jilted execs. Everyday folks chewed by the machine. I mentored juniors. No more blind eyes to ambition's underbelly. Power's a tool, I'd tell them. Heels kicked off in briefings. Not a throne. The kids mended slow. Ellie channeled hurt into canvas. Her gallery show at 12 a quiet triumph, judges praising, raw emotion in suburban strokes. Max, captain of the Pee Wee League, dimples weaponized in grins that lit rooms. Therapy helped. Grandma's hugs the glue. They asked about Jake less. Memories softening like old photos.
Me?
I dated sporadically. A prosecutor with a sailboat. A novelist who quoted Neruda over dim sum. None stuck. My heart was tree. Patching leaks before building anew. Death taught efficiency. Love hard. But leave room for exits. Christmas Eve. Snow blanketing the promenade. We strung lights on the stoop. Buddy chased flakes. Tail wagging fury. Ellie hung the star. Max plugged in carols. Bing Crosby crooning White Wonders. I sipped cocoa. Spiked with rum. Warmth seeping bone deep. Then the call. Prison prefix. Voice I'd buried. Jake. Iris. Gravel rough. Hesitant. Don't hang up. I gripped the mug. Steam curling. Kids inside. Oblivious. What? Just. Merry Christmas. To you and them. Silence stretched. Taut as wire. They're good. Growing.
A pause.
Exhale ragged. I saw the clips. You're firm. Proud as hell. Don't. Sharp. But no venom. Not your place.
Yeah.
Fair. Another beat. One thing. Before they cut me off. Make it quick. The locket. Tracked it down at a pawn shop in Chelsea.
Figured.
Closure. I touched it.
Gold warm now.
Why? 'Cause I owed you truth. All of it. His voice cracked. The con? Started before you. Dad's debts.
Bad bets.
You were the out, your family's connections. The firm.
But then.
I fell.
Real.
The kids. You laughing at bad movies. I sabotaged it 'cause I couldn't hack the guilt. Tears pricked. Hot traitors.
Bullshit.
You chose her. I chose escape.
Weak.
But Iris. Ending it? That brunch? I didn't know about the pills till. Stop. I cut him. Breath hitching. No absolution. Not asking. Just. Live big. For us all. Line went dead. I stood in snow. Flakes melting on lashes. Villain or victim. Gray as the sky. Death's second chance blurred lines. Heroes bleed too. New Year's dawned crisp. Resolutions whispered over pancakes. I vowed presents, no more chases. Just here. The kids cheered. Syrup-sticky hugs. But fate's a joker. February, anniversary month, brought the hearing. Jake's appeal. Long shot bid for reduced sentence. I testified remotely. Screen glowing in my office. Judge stern. Oak-paneled room a relic. MS. Hail, he intoned. Your statement. I leaned in. Words measured. Jacob Hale destroyed lives. Mine. Our children's. Countless victims of his schemes. No mercy merits. But as I spoke, eyes met his via feed, hollowed, grayer at temples. He mouthed, "Thank you." For what? Truth? Or the lie we both clung? Once, we were real. Appeal denied. Life. No parole. He nodded at the camera. Faint smile. Fade to black. Spring unfurled gentle. Cherry blossoms dusting sidewalks. Hale and Vargas hit stride. A cartel bust. Headlines crediting the avenging angels of Brooklyn. Elena high-fived over Thai takeout. We toasted with Singa. Laughing at old wounds. Mother's Day circled back. Insidious. I braced, no brunch. Just us. Picnic in Prospect Park. Blankets and bubbles. Ellie sketched picnickers. Max chased frisbees with Buddy. Laughter rang true. Unforced. Then the envelope. Tucked under the basket. Courier. No return. Inside. Deed to the Hamptons A-frame. Our old escape. Notarized note. Sold assets. For you. Make new memories.
J.
I stared. Wind whispering dunes I'd never revisit. Controversial gift? Tainted treasure. But the kids? They'd love it. Waves. Whoops. Salt in their hair. We going somewhere cool? Max asked.
Peeking.
I folded the deed. Smile blooming. Yeah.
Buddy.
Somewhere perfect. Summer sealed it. We drove out. Subaru groaning up 95. Echoes. But forward. Kids piled out. Ellie dragging sketchpad. Max to the marsh. I stood on the porch. Ocean roaring approval. Locket glinting sun. That night. Fire crackling. I poured wine, Cabernet. No toast. Just quiet. Jake's ghost lingered. Not haunting, but humbled. I'd replaced him, not with another, but myself. Mother. Warrior.
Whole.
Twists end, not tragic, not fairy tale.
Real.
Messy American grit, betrayal's bite, revenge's bomb, rebirth's bargain. We danced on the rug, kids giggling, buddies snoring. No echoes.
Just now. And it was enough.